Hey there, how you doing? Robert S. Wright is my name. I'm the author of Rugged Mercy, a country doctor in Idaho's Sun Valley, published by Washington State University Press. And you can get it at your bookstore or from Washington State University Press. I've written another one, a historical novel called They Awaken. It takes place in the biblical Middle East during the time of Jesus and the early beginning of the Christian church. It's a family saga, generational, good story, but I cannot get anyone to publish it because it's too long, they say. It's 300,000 words. It's okay. Cut it in half, a novel and a sequel, 150,000 each. Still too long. For publishers these days, it has to be no more than 100,000 words. I can't make it work. It would dilute the story. It would destroy the story. So I guess I will publish it myself. I'm calling the first one King David's Lost Crown because it's about the search for the mythical crown of King David. It's sort of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, except it doesn't take place at the turn of the century. It takes place at the turn of the millennium. And it's not the ark they're looking for, it's the crown of King David, and it's not Harrison Ford or Ellen Quatermain. It's Athronges looking for the crown. Athronges was the people, they called him the shepherd Messiah, and he came before Jesus, but the people truly thought that it was probable that it could be Athronges because the guy was huge, a giant of a man, and he dispensed his own form of justice. He was kind of like a biblical Robin Hood, rob from the rich and give to the poor. The story is told through the eyes of the Magi. Remember, it was the Magi that brought the gifts to the Christ child. Except there weren't just three of them. There might have been three that brought the gifts. The Bible doesn't say. But in Parthia, where most of the novel takes place, there were thousands of them. They made up half the Parthian Senate. They were the priestly caste whose responsibility it was to nominate and installed kings. Kingmakers, they were called. Okay, so here's what you're going to read on the book jacket. Something like this when you pick it up off the shelf. Hopefully you'll be picking it up off the shelf. Far, far away in the land of the Israelites, as the Magi are in search of their child king, a ghostly avenger is about in the land, thundering out of the Judean hills in the dark of night, wielding God's sword of righteousness. He is Athronges, the shepherd Messiah. And as the Magi are making their way homeward, after having found their king, after having presented their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, the shepherd Messiah is on a quest of his own in search of the fabled lost crown of King David. Possessed of the Shekinah fire, the very breath of God, the crown grants the bearer ultimate power. It disappeared the day of King David's great sin with Bathsheba and the murder of her husband Uriah. To merely touch it could bring death, as befell Uzzah for touching the Ark of the Covenant. It waits for a pure soul. It waits for Athronges, or at least that's what Athronges believes. But the crown is never found until a time 30 years later when an Essene monk from the compound of Qumran is given a box by the Essenes with instructions to deliver it to a mysterious sorcerer, stirring up the people with crazy notions like turn the other cheek if assaulted, absurd concepts. Yet, given credibility by deeds that could only be brought about by divine hands. Nobody looks inside the box, obviously, for fear of the fire. The novel is filled with all sorts of twists and turns and surprises, one of which is the shocking discovery of what really is in the box.